everybody okay with the garden?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's all I've got on that.
So you're recommending the north end, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it'd be more pleasing to look at the park with the green rather than the village on there.
Councilman Clark, do you understand?
Exactly where we're putting.
Okay, you remember when you and I drove around that day, we had that, got that clearing out there,
Right,
and it's got the trees on either side?
right.
The north end is gonna be the one furthest away from the, parking lot.
Okay, I think that is the west end.
It could be
It might be
northwest.
northwest.
Okay.
I'll meet you in the middle.
I was trying to go north across the road or something, I was like,
It'd be all the way down on the far end, away from the, parking lot, that way it doesn't ruin the view of the lake. Because if we put it right there, I mean, it's just,
yeah, no, I understand, I just was confused about where that was. So can you run the, I mean, does the sidewalk have to go directly all through that green space, or can it go along
the trees and.
closer to the road?
Well,
Winding
the problem that we're gonna run into is the grade of the land, and there's no flat spot really for it to go other than right there, and
Okay.
we may have to, go back and forth on that area to make it work correctly. We're just kind of.
It's preliminary at this point. Okay.
We have an estimate about what it's gonna cost, and I wanna make sure y'all be okay with that.
Okay.
I know you haven't done a drawing yet, but tell me more about the pavilion. How large is it? And
It's gonna be 30 by 45, and the back 15 feet is gonna be raised up 3 feet, so that we can have like bands and things on, or when we have the fishing competition, they can have the awards ceremony there where they'll be above the people that are sitting under the pavilion. So it's gonna be, it'll basically look like Arrowhead Park Pavilion, only it's gonna be 15 feet longer. Same construction and everything.
So I heard a little bit about the purpose of it. It's obviously for future events that Parks has planned, and obviously the use of the tops.
Yes,
That's we think will hopefully be a yearly item for us.
if I have anything to say about it,
You gonna say anything about it? Okay.
I have one more thing to be said about this. I talked with the Army Corps of Engineers, and of course, they're not saying we can't do it, that they have no objections to it, but their main beef about the whole deal is the road going out to Sycamore Bend. It's not wide enough for all these activities that we like to have planned for out there. And they would like to see us do that before we do all the other work. They didn't say we couldn't, but that's their thought on it.
Very important, I have to say it's a very important topic, and it's not on the agenda now, but it's something we've been really talking about, fixing, because if that park becomes a busy park, like, you are getting it prepared to be, it's definitely gonna need to be wider. I mean, it's gotta be wider, because it's kind of,
If you take a boat down there, no one can pass you. They have to pull off the side, and there's those culverts on the side, so really there's no place for them to go.
it's got deep culverts. You know, we did an overlay on that road 2 years ago, just to improve it, just so you wouldn't lose control of it.
That point of contact you got, just kind of pick their brains if they'd be willing to give us property towards their side.
They said that they would, but it's only a small portion of it, it's not the whole length of the road.
Right. We'd probably see us down this agenda item, and then we'll get to that road one, too.
Okay.
So is this just discussion, I guess? There's no action.
Councilman Gordon asked me to put it on as an action item.
So we go ahead and approve the location, is that what we're approving?
And
You're
if
approving
you don't want
construction.
this,
Okay.
yeah, the construction, the sidewalk, everything.
And what was the cost? I didn't have anything in here.
Well, right now we don't know, but the preliminary bid that I've got for, it's gonna be under 40,000,
Okay.
or right around 40,000.
This is part of
I'd
it.
rather you not put that into it yet, because I'm not sure exactly how much it's going to be. Till I get the drawing.
And is there a budget for that?
It's EDC.
Already approved, I'm guessing?
No.
That's a
Oh,
for
sorry.
EDC, yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry. No, we're working on that.
It was supposed to happen last month.
Lance, can you vote something like this contingent upon EDC decision?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, go ahead and approve this, so we can slow this down.
If the PDC could choose not to do it,
Yeah, I mean,
Well, but Lance, for EDC to fund, we're gonna have to do a public hearing on it first, and it still has to come back to
Yeah,
council for approval
I was
first.
thinking you're kind of doing it in reverse order too.
Right.
No action.
Yeah, I probably would take action on that, just like EDC.
Because it's gotta come back to council anyway after we have.
I was assuming this was gonna be more of a discussion to get y'all's temperature on it, because if y'all are like, oh, no, well, we were gonna think about doing something else, but if y'all are okay with it, we'll move forward.
good, you know,
I mean, it's a great place for a pavilion, I think.
what we talked about last year at the Tops tournament too. you know.
Mhm.
All right, sounds good. Okay, so we can't act on this tonight, we can move on to consider, he said, consider an act on improvements to Sycamore Bend Park for compliance with the American Disabilities Act.
That would be me also.
Okay.
What I have now is that, the problem with the ADA compliance is that the grade of the parking lot, getting over to the boat ramp, and getting to the restrooms. So I've been in contact with the Army Corps again on that to see if we could leave the parking space right where it is, and then we'd have to get a variance for that, which is $175, plus a variance for the slope of the whole parking lot, which is very feasible because it would cost more than what the grant's for to completely redo it.
No, okay.
So as long as it's more, then we can get variances on it. Also, we need ADA parking up at the restroom. And Jeffrey and I went down and talked about that, and we decided to leave the handicap porta potty at the restroom and just have a parking place up there for the ADA compliance. All of it's probably, well, I don't know exactly on that. It will be under $2,500 to do all that.
Is that part of that funding mechanism too from the EDC?
No.
No, okay, so it's separate then.
That's either the city or the parks.
And Chris Gordon suggested maybe we take this to the town and get the town to fund it, seeing it's existing. It's not something that's actually for the maintenance of the parks, but something that the town has to be in compliance with.
Okay.
That
I'm
was-
sorry, what were those numbers again? 175 per permit.
2 permits at $175 each. And the most expensive bid that I have on that is going to be about $2,500, but I really think it's going to be closer to $1,500. Since we changed the bathroom parking.
Does that ever break out how much per square foot of flat work is? Does we got that broke out there, you know?
No.
She put it on a lump sum.
Yeah. Do you want that?
No, I'm just,
Okay,
I might have another resource. Could be looking.
okay.
Okay, so that then, at the 25 is 2850. So if we don't exceed that, then you have something that might be better pricing for us, okay?
I think we can get under that without problem.
We gotta get the, we took that park on, 3 years ago now, 2 years ago, so we need to do all those things to get it where it needs to be. Any discussion with council? So if we want to go for the 2 permits and then the, say 2,500, which we don't feel like it's gonna be that at all. It's 2,850, that would be the town side for the park, just for the drive-up and everything and for the disabilities.
So not to exceed 28.
Thank you. All right, any discussion? Yeah, someone will make a motion? Councilman Clark?
Make a motion that we act on the park improvements to Sycamore Bend Park for compliance with the American Disabilities Act to approve, for the improvement not to exceed $2,850.
Okay, Councilman Clark's made a motion, in a second.
I'll second.
Councilman Wise, seconds, all in favor? Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Consider and act on the request from Walmart regarding temporary storage container fees. Mr. Joe Gilman.
Good evening.
Yeah.
As y'all know, we've been in Hickory Creek now for, I guess it's about 13 years. And up till this past year, we actually have kept containers on the parking lot, basically year-round. We have came into a situation this past year, we started getting the permits for the containers, and which we $750,000 to $1 million more than what it typically does out of season in the summer. So we're requesting to get at least 2 containers for the summer season to store our gardens and fish.
Any discussion on that? Thank you, Jim.
I don't see a problem with it. They've been in compliance since last year, and we appreciate them as a good steward in 13 years and one of the hardest working men in Hickory Creek right there. But I don't see a problem.
Entertain a motion.
I have a quick question. Joe, on your application, you requested up to 4. Is that, would you feel more comfortable if we, it says 2 to 4, I just want to make sure.
Well, to be honest with you, my boss hasn't even given me permission to get it yet anyway. So you can leave, say 2 to 4. I hope you'll let me have 1. But yeah, leave it 2 to 4.
Councilman?
And they asked that we set a permit, a set fee like we did at the Christmas, so that it would be $50 per container per month. And they proposed $250 to $300.
Everybody good with that?
Do we need to set a number on that?
So those are the dates, March 25th to July 31st?
Yes.
What was the number, 251?
250 or 300.
Is that total?
That's Penny?
What-
Yeah.
What we did with the, just to let you know, what we did with the Christmas containers, they wanted 18 and we did $50 per container. So if they're wanting two containers, we would do 200, I would.
So we'll do
To be in
$50
line with
per.
what we did at Christmas.
Okay.
All right.
Mayor, I'd like to approve or propose a motion to approve the request from Walmart regarding temporary storage container fees up to 4 units at the expense of $50 per unit.
Okay. Councilman Keyes made a motion in a second.
Second.
Councilman 3 seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Mr. Combs.
Thank you.
All right, consider to act on the Elm Fork Hiking Equestrian Trails Project.
I'm Porter Walker again. Okay, I've been working on this project for a long time, and I did not realize that the trail on Hickory Creek property went as far as it is, so we're trying to have to redo it. I got a bid, and I think everyone has that. Doesn't everyone have that? It's $180,000, which is about $80,000 more than I hoped it would be. I'm not sure that everything, James can address this more, I'm not sure everything that's on here has to be done. And the thing that I'm worried about is the head walls, whether or not we even need those. Yes, please.
Basically, this is just a probable cost estimate, so it's, basically we're just looking at sort of the worst case scenario right here. And so we don't know right now at this moment if we need to have head walls or even if that culvert size is appropriate for right there. We're basically looking, once we get into this right here, they can actually see how much water is actually going to that spot. When I determine that we don't need to have a head wall, or we might even use a smaller culvert, or not even a culvert at all. And so it is basically looking at the worst case scenario. At one time we looked at a bridge for the north, but there is a path right now that you don't technically need a bridge right there. It was, at Corinth, there was a bridge installed just a little bit further north. It was about $125,000 for that bridge. And so we saw there was a path right now that there is that basically means that you don't need to have the bridge through there. And so we basically just eliminated the bridge out of the cost estimate because of that.
Okay. So right now, the estimate's $180,000. Is there any grant matches or anything that?
Well, that's what I was going to recommend. Really, the worst part that we've really got to address is
Thanks,
there at the end of Maynard Road. And there is a grant that'll be coming up first of February. I know it's a long ways away, but I really think it's worth waiting for. They'll pay, it's an 80-20 match, I think. So my recommendation to the council is to wait until February the 1st and then readdress, see if we get the grant, and then readdress it.
Okay. Yeah, that's a,
That's a lot.
I never thought, when we were talking to Corey, I never thought it'd be that much money.
The retaining wall are 50, that's the biggest cost now.
Yeah, and that's what we need the most is the retaining wall.
Is this 180,000 is without the bridge we're talking about?
It's without the bridge.
Right, so that's still hard costs in there.
But we could also eliminate, I think we could eliminate the head walls, both the head walls. But the retaining wall, we definitely, and we can do without some of the earthwork. But the wall is most important. If you've ever been out on that edge right there, it's real steep. It's really not safe for riding.
Okay. So I guess what we do is we can put that on an update maybe in 6 months as we start coming around that February window to get closer to 3 months and.
You know, I really don't think it even needs to be addressed until I can see if we can get a grant on it.
Okay.
So maybe a year.
Year?
Christie can put that on the future agenda
Yeah.
with the agenda management.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank
So we
you.
don't-
Thank you.
All right, we'll go ahead and skip D9 through the 11th. And go on to D12, discussion regarding Harbor Grove water supply. And then in your packets, I've included a copy of the proposed 2013 budget for Harbor Grove water supply. And we're looking at it. And the reason this is on the agenda, some residents of Harbor Grove would like for the town to look at this to see if there's an interest in the town possibly being a part of this water supply, or if there's other opportunities out there for Harbor Grove and so forth. I don't know if there's anybody who wants to talk about it or anything like that, but it's more of a discussion amongst us on what we want to do. Now, I did have a meeting yesterday with Lake City's water, and even though there's not sewer out there right now, there's a stub out at the very end when they did the new construction this past year where a connection could be made right there if Lake City's ever needed to go in and provide water to Harbor Grove. And on top of that, with the new subdivision going on to the west of Harbor, a line is actually going to be ran all the way down to the end, which is where we're going to put our fire hydrant right there. So you're within, I don't know how many feet of being where you need to be to connect water up for the entire Harbor Grove subdivision over there. So I know the residents have a vote coming up in April for the board on different things that, they might could and what happened, that might change things over there and so forth. But I want everybody to see these numbers here and what budget numbers they had and where they took out this infrastructure improvement part right there and the tie to that for the next, I believe it's a 15-year, if I'm not mistaken. That's at 15, I believe it's 15, it's a 15-year, and there was an increase in the water billing over there. And I don't remember what the current rate is per month. But I wanted to get some advice from Lance. Lance, what do you recommend on something like that? Right now it's controlled by their own entity over there in Harbor Grove. With the board and everything, I think it's set up under an LLC, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's
Is
not.
Is it nonprofit?
Is it just a statutory water supply corporation?
Yes,
Do y'all have any outstanding debt or?
Yes.
only the loan.
Yeah, they just took out a loan this last year to go in and
520,000.
make improvements throughout the whole subdivision over there. And they put in a new pipe and everything because there's been some issues in the past, pipes breaking, water pressure, those kinds of things. So there was an infrastructure improvement. I believe what they had set aside right now on net, if I looked at correctly the other day, was what, how much?
17.
For last year.
17.
Yeah, I think it's a little higher.
Oh, 22 for proposed.
That's net income.
That's true.
And does your corporation, does it have the CCM to serve that area? How does that, what kind of operation do you have there?
We have
typically, when an entity serves, retail water or sewer, they have a certificate of convenience and necessity.
Yes,
I'm not sure if water supply corporations have the same,
yes.
same process. Do that?
We're only able to, excuse me, to supply water in that area.
Right in that area.
Yes,
And you have the sole right to do that now.
yes.
I guess, are you contemplating, Mayor, that the town will come and retail?
Well,
providers?
it's been brought to us to look at, possibly,
Is Lake City's not interested in doing
well,
that?
they come up in a meeting yesterday as well. So, because Lake City's gonna have a line that goes right down to there, and they stubbed out in the front of the subdivision where you could almost meet that line up to provide, water for the area. So, and I guess the legal question is, how does that work when they already have a board? Does a vote have to take place? If they wanted to make the change, does Lake City's come in there and present to the board, and then they get the vote? Or how does that work? Because each one of the residents is a shareholder in that organization.
Yeah, that's certainly the easiest way to do it is if you have consent by both parties. I mean, there have been instances where one provider goes in and takes over another area and it's contested, and you certainly don't want to go through that. It's probably not, Lake Cities, I wouldn't think, would be interested in doing that. It's probably not worth that battle. But yeah, if you had one entity and how their voting procedures are set up, giving consent, it would just, it's more complicated than this, but you're essentially selling their certificate of convenience and necessity, or transferring that to another entity to allow them to become the provider, and that's done through, that has to be taken through processes at the TCEQ. But that can be done. I've certainly seen cities or municipal utility districts swap areas or buy areas from one another. That's not unusual, but it's usually done consensually, where both parties agree to it, and it works out for the best for both of them. Of course, the Lake Cities would be taking over, what debt has been issued. And I think, is any of it federal government, Department of Agriculture debt or anything of that nature? I think it gets more complicated if there's federal debt involved, but if it's just any other type of loan, it would be a matter of taking that debt over. So it's kind of an economic decision that Lake Cities would have to make.
Right. And then as far as an economic decision for the town, I know that,
I guess it would say just the surface, it would seem to make more sense Lake Cities did, because the town doesn't have its own water supply. You'd have to buy it from Lake Cities and resell it, I guess.
yeah, well, currently they have well system out there, so basically we would just be the provider of that
Yeah,
system.
you'd be taking over that system. Yeah, they'd be able to flip it well, yeah.
So I don't know, this is just for discussion,
And of course, wells in this area are increasingly becoming more heavily regulated. There's been a groundwater conservation district that overlays Denton, Collin, and Cook County now, that regulates and you guys probably pay a fee to them now.
Yes, we do pay a tax.
Yeah. So typically, in areas like the Metroplex and suburban Metroplex, cities are really trying to get out of heavy water wells and go to more regional provision of water, Upper Trinity and North Texas municipal water district. So I don't want to say you're buying a dinosaur, but I mean that's typically not the way that retail providers are providing water now through water wells. Growing cities are doing their best to shut their wells down and use surface water. So again, I'm not a water analyst, but that's just my gut feeling of, the town getting in that business.
Right. So then would it be left up to the citizen or the residents of Harvard Road to pursue that piece, and then just us help along with it, whether it's talks or Lake Cities, or
Yeah, of course.
we're kind of just trying to get a start,
For some folks out, I guess all the folks out in Harbor Grove are just town residents, is that correct?
Yes.
Or New Zealanders? Yeah, the town can certainly provide, could help with, the maintenance services or expertise, whatever they have, or just facilitating that. And providing funding connection that maybe Lake Cities didn't want to
Pay for it.
pay for. That could necessarily have been the town's discretion to do that, to serve their residents that live out there.
Okay. Tim, do you have anything as far as?
No, that would be fine. We do have a meeting, April 13th. And that was sort of left off the letter when they sent it out to the residents, that we were going to talk about this. So that's good, we can still talk about it.
Right. It doesn't sound like it's got to be that meeting. If another meeting was called, it looks like it could be discussed again,
Oh,
basically, so. Okay, I think hopefully we got a starting point then.
good.
To kind of go from there and kind of segue into that, so. All right, any discussion from the council on that? I think for, some of the citizens over there that I've spoken to, Harbor Grove Waters has done a pretty good job and everything, providing water. They did have a problem 6 years ago when there was the wells that I think went dry, and they had to re-drill again, and I think re-drilled one more time, if I'm
Correct.
mistaken. And there's always that possibility, that could happen again. And, the other piece of it is how far and how deep, if Lake Cities was to do that, we know where we anticipate putting a fire hydrant at the entry harbor up there. How much deeper, maybe can we go a little further and put another one to get that pressure that we need over there to help reduce, the insurance rates? Because I know I got a letter from the fire chief, and they still aren't up to code compliant as far as enough water pressure to fight a fire substantially over there. So,
Even with the new,
even with the new system. It's just
but I
not
mean,
there.
even once we get the.
Oh, once we get it in, yeah, because the hydrant will be, the water coming from it will be Lake City's pressure.
Right, so it'll have enough pressure
Right,
once it's there.
it's only at the entrance over there,
entrance, right.
that's it, but it's not, every 300 feet, I think it is by, new subdivision ordinance and so forth into there.
So you're saying it still won't meet code once that fire hydrant's down there?
Correct.
Right, now, it could be a different story if Lake Cities did connect, and their pressured the lines out over there, maybe those interior fire hydrants would get to where they need to be. I think they're only at 40%, Jeffrey? Yeah, they're at 40%. So, because right now they use the tanks, for the pressure to push out the water, through the subdivision over there.
So is that what the infrastructure did, was improve the lines so they can handle that pressure?
It improved the lines to handle more pressure.
But can they handle enough pressure? Can they handle Lake City's
That I
pressure?
couldn't tell you, without looking.
It's going to be very iffy because those are 4-inch lines, correct?
Yes, they're only 4.
And usually to supply a fire hydrant, it is a 5. So I don't know, it could happen.
Maybe it's another segment of pipe over to the middle, and we get it further in there.
Come in there and just tee off and go down the main,
Right.
and you're still going to have the furthest distance to the closest fire hydrant, you're going to be within that distance, and it'll work the same way.
So Lake Cities was interested. They didn't just say, no, we don't want to talk about anything like that. They said, give us more details and let us know what's going on with it, especially with the big project they got going on back over here. It provides a circle back, if they were to do it. So it gives them what they need in that area over there. So it seemed pretty positive for that.
Just out of curiosity, what's the contract labor in there? That's $28,500 each year? Is that
That's,
bookkeeping without going down?
I think it's repairs and so
Pardon,
forth.
I couldn't
Contract
hear you.
labor is $28,500 each year? Is that, what's going on with contract labor? Is that billing or is that something?
Oh,
else?
that's your, that's the general manager, the well manager, and a meter. And then, of course, you do have a few
So you have a paying
leaks
board?
every once in a while.
You have a paying elected board, I guess?
Pardon?
The board's not paid, but.
No, the
people
board's not
get
Oh, you have
contracts.
independents that come in and do that?
Yes, yes, they're all subcontractors.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, let's move on then to item B13, consider and act on the nomination of 2012 Hickory Creek Businessman of the Year. And we've got 4 nominated folks here: Treadway's Barbecue, Chili's, IHOP, and Rave Movie Theater. So if you would. And then for, consider and act on nomination of 2012 Hickory Creek Citizen of the Year.